Hello, everybody. This is the Static Site Editor weekly group chat. This is the engineering edition, and let's get going. So, on the general, I just want to remind everybody we don't have any more issue refinement sessions this month. They've been replaced by OKR hackathon sessions. Thank you again, Chad and Vasily, for joining today's session. And Enrique, I'm sure you'll see there's a few MRs for you to review that we got through. So hopefully a few more tooltips will be converted shortly. Right, let's get into the static site editor section. So Derek's not, he's on PTO, so I'll quickly just highlight his section. The merge request title and description UI is actually on production at the moment, so you can play with it. And Eric, I was thinking it's probably worth doing a shout out in the What's Happening channel, because I know a bunch of people were asking for this. So that's nice to see.
Definitely. Yeah, this is exciting.
And yeah. Enrique, can you give us an update?
Yes, I finished implementing the proof of concept of the WYSIWYG editor using CK editor 5. I shared the links of the merge request where I included a report answering some of the evaluation criteria that we defined in our last issue refinement session. And there is also a link to the review app where you can play with the demos. I'm gonna create a calendar event with a Zoom room tomorrow at 9 a.m. Atlantic time. This is the same hour of our issue refinement session. If you want to join and ask any question, please, I'm gonna be very happy to discuss this.
Cool. So for anybody that's yeah, it's a normal 1 p.m. UTC time slot. I think that's somewhere early morning for you, Chad. Probably about 5 or 6. So probably too early, but anyway, yeah. Thanks for that, Enrique. I'll have a look at that and make sure that I'm prepared for tomorrow's session as well. All right, Chad, can you give us an update on the configuration file stuff?
So all of the functionality to support the config file entries is merged. And as discussed, I made a documentation MR, it's a document of it. And Marcia Ramos commented and said we should not document that stuff until it's actually ready, because I had notes in it saying this config file option is here, but it doesn't do anything yet. So we should probably discuss and keep that in mind for future reference to, unless something is actually functional, then we don't document it.
Cool. So I assume we can officially now say that the image upload work is now unblocked and that we can move ahead with that, right?
Yes, it should be.
All right, that's great. So we can get that sorted for 13.6 then. All right. Moving on to the handbook. Vasily, can you give us an update on what you've been up to there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for handbook, I improved our handbook later a bit. So I extended the amount of cases it can detect now. And today morning, my time, I merged these changes. So it hopefully will decrease an amount of broken links that we have in handbook, because it will start notifying people about these cases.
All right, that's great. And then GitLab docs?
Yeah, for GitLab docs, all documentation URL related things were merged. So I was planning to go forward and actually enable this functionality today. But like just half an hour ago, I learned that I need to create a special issue to request this kind of official change to the settings of the GitLab main instance. And I'm planning to do it tomorrow. And hopefully, I don't know how long this process takes, but I don't think it's something really that takes lots of time. So yeah, probably tomorrow it will get go live, and we will start redirecting users to docs.gitlab.com.
Cool. That's exciting to see that moving forward. A quick question on the offline documentation, which this functionality is a precursor to.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any further input we need on that before you can start planning and getting your stuff ready for that?
So for the offline documentation, we had a plan to create to run a documentation website as a separate service and ship it along with a GitLab installation. It seems to be the most straightforward approach, but it has some drawbacks because it introduces a new extra part to our installation. And I'm still thinking about if we can do it better in a better way. So I think I will probably think about it a bit more. And if I haven't found a better solution that works, then we'll proceed with that. So, and in terms of the moving forward with the first solution, it seems to be clear. So I know who to contact, from the delivery team, who can assist me with that if I have any questions. I just need to read about services, read about how to add a new service to our stack and how to ship it as a part of the package.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
All right, on to our honorary team member, Lauren, for an update on growth marketing.
Yeah, this week we want to launch Webpack to build just our style sheets instead of middleman. We decided to take an iterative approach to adding Webpack. So first doing the style sheets, and then we can solve for edge cases and monitor that once it goes live, and then adding JavaScripts, and then finally migrating our roll-up bundling of Vue components over to Webpack. Like to get that out the door today so we can monitor it.
Awesome. And this will be a
I know I owe you a
review. Sorry, Chad.
Sorry, I know
Will
I
this
owe
be
you a review on that. Do you want me to? I can get to that this morning. Ask me.
Yeah,
it's a long weekend.
I'll go over and double check everything for sure, and then make sure it's good to go. Yeah,
I think I might just have one comment on the CI file, but if it's working otherwise.
Yeah, CI, because splitting it up like that, it adds some extra CI jobs.
So just to confirm, this will be across both the marketing and the handbook site.
Yes, it's a new system. Bundle your style sheets for the whole site. So kind of big.
Awesome. Nice. Looking forward to that. All right. And then over to Eric with product update.
Yeah, thanks. So last week I was focused on trying to plan for 13.6, which is a lot more complicated now that we have settings and nav. So I was trying to dig into that. The settings and nav work, though, I think I was able to identify a few issues that are well known enough, understandable enough, and we're confident enough that it needs to be done, that we don't need to take this into UX research. I'll talk more about that with Michael, and hopefully Catherine will join on our design product call later today. But the gist of it is the ones that I picked are either known bugs or inconsistencies with the navigation and settings experience. I think it'd be good to dive in. So I'd like to go ahead and carve out some time in 13.6. We'll review the issues and share those specific links with you so you can see which ones I'm talking about. But yeah, this will be the first milestone where we're picking up that work. I don't expect huge MRs to drastically improve the experience, but I think dipping our toes in and getting familiar with the code base would be helpful. The other things, though, that we'll focus on, the editor architecture is clearly our top priority from the static site editor product side. I think moving forward on that full steam ahead as much as we can is the priority for 13.6 there. The offline docs work that we already talked about, we'll carry that forward in 13.6, hopefully wrap it up in 13.6. And then I lost my agenda place. Yeah, carryover of image upload. So now that that's unblocked, I wanted to jump in, but didn't want to interrupt, but really great work on the settings stuff, Chad. It's really important that we have this configuration, and I know it was very complex, but it's gonna hopefully unlock a whole future for the static site editor. So it was a pivotal feature that, even though it's mostly behind the scenes, having that wrap up now and unblock image uploads is great, and it will inevitably be extended in the future for any number of customization options. So really, really excited to see that hit, and image uploads, we'll wrap that up in 13.6. I don't want to overload it because I don't know how much the settings and nav stuff is going to take. There might be some, roadblocks and minefields that we have to navigate there. So that's kind of what I'm thinking.
So we, given changing the settings stuff or the config file going forward, as expected, it's pretty easy to add and change things. It's declarative in the config file API, but there's still some more thought that needs to go into that, like especially like we talked about the mount stuff and how we actually want to implement that, and with using that as a way to leverage how paths map to actual files in the repo, and duplicating that with route maps and stuff. So maybe we could get some issues, at least showing that we need to think about the mounts one more.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing a follow-up issue that you made about the routes. Maybe I can try and I can put that at least on our 13.6 planning spreadsheet if we have time to look at it, but I'll just make sure that it's clearly defined. That's a good point. We don't want to table that for too long.
It's mainly like before we start using the mounts, when we should think really hard about it and see if we need to make it more general purpose, or so we're not duplicating functionality, and because we don't want to implement it and then have to change it.
Yeah. Yeah, and just because you did the hard work to set up the configuration doesn't mean we need to go willy-nilly adding settings in here. We don't want to overload it, and we don't want to make the wrong decisions on the settings and then have to deprecate things a bunch in the future. So now that we have the power, doesn't mean we need to abuse it. But yeah, it's, that's a good point. I'll see if I can. I'll see if those issues are clear enough, or I'll ping you on Slack. If not, and we can round that out with the mounts and anything else related to the configuration of that. Yeah. So on the topic of the re-architecture, I was really excited to see the proof of concept, Enrique. I think I will try and click through that after lunch today for me. And we have a meeting with the CK editor team to talk about licensing and usage on Thursday. I wanted to keep it small so we didn't overwhelm their team with like a panel discussion. So it'll just be me, Sean, and Enrique if they can all join. But I'll see if they're okay with us recording it so that we can share it around internally at least. The main goal there is to understand their licensing and whether or not we'd be able to build paid features on top of CK Editor, or use CK Editor in our paid features like epics, or if any potential feature that is paid in the future that could benefit from a WYSIWYG editor, if there's going to be restrictions there. It could be a deal breaker. I don't know what the kind of license agreement they're going to want. So that's what the discussion will be about. Hopefully it'll be fruitful and they'll be enthusiastic and it'll all work out, but we'll report back. And oh, the other thing I wanted to mention is I think I was digging through and I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this, but CK Editor 4, I believe, has a more liberal license, but I don't think it's as feature rich. I think it's like a pretty significant difference between architectures of CK Editor 4 and 5 as far as what we could do with it. Enrique, did you happen to see any of that?
No, I don't know how Cicada 4 is architecture, but I think that they put a significant effort into making Cicada 5 to separate. They separated the data into parts. They have a pre-built version of the data that are feature rich, and you can just embed it in your application. And then they created a framework that is what we are gonna actually use, and it's what allows us to implement plugins to extend the functionality to support new content.
Cool. Yeah. Well, we can bring that up with them too. If it seems like their license is going to be too restrictive, we can ask them what the differences are. If that framework is feature rich enough for us, then that might be an option, but I have a feeling it's not. And I wouldn't want to necessarily go down in a major version if we have a perfectly viable other opportunity with TipTap or Prose Mirror or something like that. So yeah, hopefully it'll be a good conversation, and we'll report back on Thursday afternoon.
Yeah, the last thing I'll add there is just that CK Editor 4 only has support until 2023. So that's something to keep in mind as well with that type of decision. So
yeah,
it's you know it's clear that they've put a lot of development time and effort into CK Editor 5. So one can only expect that they will continue to push that forward. And considering that CK Editor 4 has been up and about since 2012, it was probably time for it to be sunset.
Yeah. Probably not the best choice to choose for just for the license, but yeah, we'll hopefully come out the other side of this meeting with a clear understanding of their license expectations. I don't think that we're entertaining a paid license at this point for it, but we'll have a lot more information to have that conversation. So the last item that I had on the agenda was related to product operations. So Vasily, we had discussed putting that automated content assembly for the release post back on the pipeline for the 18th to run. I think we're all good with that. Tao is the release post manager for 13.5. She was shadowing me in 13.4, and she's comfortable with letting it run and seeing what happens, but then being prepared with a manual running the script manually if it doesn't work. So whatever we need to do to get it back on the pipeline, I'll confirm with her, and we'll be able to try that out over the weekend.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. I just enabled it back, so.
Awesome. Great. Well, done. All right. Didn't even need to make a to-do. So I'll confirm with her that so she knows what's going to happen. And then maybe we can just a quick write-up of like what she would have to do if it failed, which branch to delete, or which commit to revert, something like that. Yeah, that's it for me.
All right. If nobody has any further topics, going once, twice. Have a good rest of your Monday, everybody. Well, it's not Monday, it's Tuesday. Normally this is on a Monday, but have a good rest of your Tuesday. Cheers.